That's good, and I'd like to welcome everyone here. I love the coolness of New Zealand. As my brother-in-law says, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. Is that right? I guess you know that one well here living in New Zealand. I love the freshness of the air in the cool climates. We've been looking at many questions that came through, and what I'm going to do is I've designed my presentations around the majority of the questions. And there's one question that comes up again and again and again and again and again in many different ways, and that is the question of hormones. And it's all right, guys, you don't have to leave because men have hormones too. And we'll be looking at how they affect in the area of growths in the reproductive organs, in the area of thyroid, in the area of osteoporosis, in the area of prostate problems, so many areas that's such far-reaching, and it's often the missing link in people's health statuses. Well, I'm so glad you've got screens up there because it's a little bit hard for everyone to see my little tiny whiteboard. Recently I was at a seminar and the guy just couldn't get his PowerPoint going, and I thought, oh, I love my whiteboard, it never fails me. Before we begin, I'd like to ask for the presence of the greatest teacher this world has ever known. Father in heaven, thank you so much that we are here. Thank you so much for this incredible body you gave us. Thank you so much for the simple guidelines, principles that we can apply for optimum health. Teach us, we pray, in the name of Jesus, amen. So let us begin. I love the proverb, knowledge is easy to him that understands. It's Proverbs 14 verse 6. My aim is to give you an understanding of the hormone system. And as we look, I'll just leave it, at the hormone system, there's a question that should always be on our lips, and that is why? Because we live in a human body that's been designed to heal itself. It's a self-balancing body, a self-healing body. So the question then is asked, well, why are the hormones so out of balance if our body has been designed to heal and balance itself? It will if you give it the right conditions. Tiny little two-letter word is the word if. We'll put if down here. The human body will heal itself, and it'll do it very nicely if you give it the body the right conditions. Many people are unaware of those conditions. Many people do not understand, for instance, the importance of drinking adequate water, because the fact is there's no reserve tank on the back. Have you noticed? The only water that goes in is the water we put in. And one lady said, I drink a lot of tea, so I've got getting water in my cups of tea. I said, how clean would your body be if you washed it in tea? No, it must be water and water alone. And I think you'll agree with me, the hardest time to drink water is in the cold weather. But you'll be amazed at how much water you can drink little by little by little, because actually the hormonal system doesn't work unless it's getting adequate water. Every single body system requires water, not just to function, but to also be able to cleanse and heal you. What I'd like to begin with this morning is to go through some of the symptoms of someone having a hormonal imbalance. So we'll start with a female. So for a female having a hormonal imbalance, one of the first symptoms is early periods. Did you know that 16 to 18 is normal? And we're getting so many young girls today getting their periods at 9, 10. It's almost taken half their childhood away. Why? Why are they getting their periods so early? It's a hormonal imbalance. And then the next question is, well, why is it out of balance? We'll be looking at that. Another symptom is very heavy periods, very painful periods. Premenstrual tension. How many people think that's normal? I've got some good news, men and women. It's not normal. And today you're going to find out how you can turn that around. Another symptom, more serious symptom of a hormonal imbalance is fibroids in the uterus, cysts in the ovaries, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, lumps in the breast cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer. Well, this is far-reaching, there's more. Also thyroid problems, osteoporosis, depression. These are some of the symptoms of a of a female having a hormonal imbalance. And you can have 50 women, all with a hormonal imbalance, and every single one of them can have different symptoms. Hot flushes through menopause, insomnia. And in my next lecture, after the break, we're going to look at insomnia. It wasn't a problem before the electric light came along. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Also, for a man, there are symptoms for a man. What are some of the symptoms of a man having a hormonal imbalance? Low sperm count, penile dysfunction, inability to hold an erection. Do you know the common figures today in Australia are 50% of men over the age of 40 are struggling with this? Wow, why? Something's wrong. Something has caused it. Because Proverbs 26 verse 2 states that the curse causeless shall not come. It's Old English. I love the poeticness of Old English. Basically means no problem happens without a cause. It's like if there's a leak in the roof. Well, I don't know there's a leak in the roof, but there's a watermark. And if I get some really fancy paint and paint it over, has that fixed everything? No, I've got to find out why. Why is it there? And in medicine today, in Australia, with Medicare, the doctor's only allowed to spend 15 minutes with you. Very hard to find out all your history and your problems in 15 minutes. They get into trouble if it's any more. I believe that God designed that every single person be their own doctor. You see, we're coming to a little one-letter word now, and that one-letter word is I am the master of my destiny. I'm the one that chooses what I do and what I don't do to my body. God's government is a government of freedom, and freedom is based on free choice. And any government that comes in with mandates, that's not God's government. Because God gave me, it's my divine right that I choose what I do and what I don't do to my body. And that's why information is so important, because how can you make a decision if you don't have information? So if any health professional says to you, you've got this, that's not necessarily so. Did you know that? And you got to do this straight away. Do you know what you say? Thank you so much for your advice. I'm going to seriously consider this. And as you walk out the door, you think to yourself, don't call me, I'll call you. Because it's my God-given right, to choose what I do to my body. We need to investigate. Psalm 146, verse 3, the Bible says, put not your trust in princes. Who are the princes? They're the authorities in the field. Doesn't mean you don't listen. But you are the master of your destiny, and you are the one that chooses, are you going to take the advice of that prince? What's a prince? The authority in the field, whether it be medicine, whether it be nutrition, whether it be naturopathy. Question, question, question. Newton's third law of motion states that to every action there's an equal and an opposite reaction. There's always a reason. Rudyard Kipling, he wrote a whole poem on this. He said, I have 6 trusty serving men. They taught me all I know. Their names are what, why, when, where, how and who. Do you take them with you everywhere you go? And if your health professional gets annoyed with your questions, arise, politely excuse yourself, leave and don't pay the bill. It is my God-given right to choose what I do. I believe God designed each human being to be their own doctor. Because only you know how you feel, only you know what you've been through, and only you know how your body responds or reacts to what's happened. And so part of being your own doctor is this. Have you ever been to a doctor who won't listen to you? Very frustrating, isn't it? Don't be that doctor. If your body speaks, listen. If it says stop, what do you got to do? Stop. And so many people are unfaithful to their poor old bodies. They don't listen because your body's response is your guide. Another symptom of a hormonal imbalance for a male is prostate problems. We didn't even know what the word meant 40 years ago. Another symptom is too much of the female hormone in a man can make a man effeminate, and too much of the male hormone in a woman can make her masculine. These are some of the symptoms of a hormonal imbalance. So what I'm going to take you through now is how these hormones are made. And look what hormones are made from. Cholesterol. And if you've got high cholesterol levels, rejoice, you'll have great hormones. I got 5 books in my library at home. The Great Cholesterol Con by Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. The Great Cholesterol Lie by Dr. Dwight Lundell. The Great Cholesterol Deception by Dr. Peter Dingle. The Great Cholesterol Myth by Johnny Bowden. The Great Cholesterol Hoax. We're running out of names. The Framingham Heart Study. Done over 40 years, 35,000 people. To prove that cholesterol causes heart disease. Well, after 40 years they haven't. But do you know what it did show? It showed that people with high cholesterol levels don't get Alzheimer's. Do you need a moment's silence for that one? No, I'm not a doctor, but all these are, and they've done all the research. I'm a journalist, I'm an investigator, I'm a private investigator, and we all should be private investigators, investigating why these things are so. So then we can make our own decisions. So what's a good cholesterol level? 7 or 8's pretty good. And what are we told? If you're under 5, is that right? You've got to go on cholesterol-lowering medication. Well, are you ready for the side effects of cholesterol-lowering medication? Alzheimer's, dementia, memory loss, muscle wasting, and breast cancer. Why breast cancer? Because our sex hormones are made from cholesterol. Dr. Malcolm Kendrick, who wrote the book The Great Cholesterol Lie, he's a cardiovascular surgeon. He said for the first time, normal levels of normal vital body substances is being called a disease. Normal vital body substance is cholesterol. You don't have enough cholesterol, your sex hormones are going to be affected. From cholesterol, your body makes another hormone called pregnenolone. And from pregnenolone, the body makes what we call mother hormone, progesterone. Now, the reason why progesterone is called mother hormone is because progesterone is the precursor for all the others. The female, her daughters, estrogen, her sons, testosterone. She's got 1 son, testosterone. She's got 3 daughters, 3 estrogens. Well, that spelling's not quite right, is it? I'm trying to master the art of saying one thing and writing another. Estrogen, that's better. Whew. Testosterone is often called the male hormone. See, females and males, they basically have the same hormones. It's just that for a man, number 1 is progesterone. Always mother is number 1, should be. Number 2 is testosterone and number 3 is estrogen. But for a woman, number 1 again is mother, progesterone. Number 2 is estrogen. Number 3 is testosterone. And so these hormones, it's the balance. Our body runs according to precision balance. So let's have a look at how these work. So we're going to call this mother. And you know, in the home where the mother has the final say, everything's good. As long as she's good. And if she's good, it usually means she's got good progesterone levels. Because progesterone's nickname is happy hormone. And we've got a saying in Australia, and not every lady likes this saying, happy wife, happy life. But it's actually true. Estrogen its main role in the body is that of a cell proliferator. And cell proliferator basically means causes massive cell growth. And it's estrogen that causes the skinny young girl to develop into a beautiful, shapely woman. So it's not that estrogen's bad. Estrogen's great in its right place. So let's have a look at how these work in the monthly cycle. So the monthly cycle is usually a 28-day cycle, and day 1 of the monthly cycle is the day that a woman begins to menstruate. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a bit of colour here to make it easy. So estrogen's going to be wearing a red outfit, and on day 1 of the monthly cycle, when a woman begins to menstruate, estrogen levels are low, but by day 7, estrogen levels are rising. So in this monthly dance of the hormone, progesterone is going to be wearing, I think that's a purple outfit. Day 1 of the monthly cycle, progesterone levels are also low. So we're going to go over to the reproductive organs, and we're going to have a look at where this monthly dance, and Dr. John Lee in his book, What Your Doctor May Not Tell You About Menopause, where I got a lot of information for this lecture, and Cheryl Selman's book, Hormone Heresy. She also opens the door a little on the hormones. What he explains the hormones monthly cycle as is a dance, and it is like a dance. Different players come onto the stage at different times of the month. So in the first week, both of these main hormones are backstage, but by day 7, estrogen levels are rising. So we're going to go to the stage where the monthly dance is played out, which is the reproductive organs of a woman's body. So this is the uterus. These are the fallopian tubes here, and these are the little filaments on the end, and then connected by a ligament are the ovaries. So at this time of the month, with the rise in estrogen, estrogen's having strong cell proliferator action in the lining of the uterus. Because remember, day one going to week 1 of the monthly cycle, that blood nest comes away. And so now, with the rise in estrogen in that second week, the blood nest now is developed and grows again. Estrogen, with its cell proliferator action, is causing a ripening of eggs in the ovaries. And there's also a lubricant released in the birth canal under the action of this rise in estrogen. By day around 14 or 15, a fully developed egg bursts forth from the ovaries, and the little filaments on the end of the fallopian tube pull that egg up, and then the fallopian tubes, which are ever moving like this, are causing that egg to go up, up, up. There's no need for estrogen anymore. We've got our egg, we've got our blood nest, we've got our lubricant, and so around day 14, 15, estrogen's told you can go backstage now. Your main dance is over. But the blister, a blister is formed where the egg bursts forth, and that blister is called the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum is the main site of progesterone production in the woman's body. Can you see the importance of a woman ovulating every month? Because when a woman ovulates every month, when that egg is released every month, corpus luteum's made. And with the monthly development of corpus luteum, that maintains mother hormone. And mother hormone estrogen, she's keeping the son and the daughters in their right place. This will make sense and will explain much as we go through. And so, with the development of corpus luteum, the rise in progesterone production comes around day 14. Progesterone, mother hormone, happy hormone, is now the main player in the monthly dance of the hormones. What effect does progesterone have? Progesterone has a ripening effect on the lining of the uterus, putting the finishing touches on the uterus. Progesterone also heightens a woman's mood at this time of the month to the point of increasing her sexual desire at this time of the month. But progesterone has another effect. Let me magnify the cervix for you. The cervix looks like a little soft cushion with a little hole in the middle. So let's look at it from side on. From side on, the little cushion is like this with a mucus plug in the middle. With the rise in progesterone at this time of the month, the sides of the cushion come up a little tighter. The mucus plug goes and a special form of lubricant is released around the cervix. And this lubricant is designed specifically to facilitate the entry of sperm up into the uterus. So you can see that the stage is set for the entry of man. Did you know that between 2 and 500 million sperm are released with one ejaculation? It's the smallest cell in the human body. And sometimes up to half come straight back out. Now, if the sperm meet this cervix here, not easy to gain entry, but a few do because they are so small. But if the sperm meet this cervix here, this lubricant literally grabs the sperm and shoots it up. And it's got a long journey, long way to go. And only the fastest can get the prize. And some go down the wrong road. Sorry, they die and get taken away. There's no road map here. And some go down the right road and aha, they've found their prize, which is the egg. And then something amazing happens. So the covering of the egg looks like this. And what the sperm has to do, it has to nudge its way into one of those folds. And that's not easy. But once the sperm gains entry, all the other folds shut tight and a chemical is released to kill off any other sperm that might try and get through. Isn't it a miracle any of us are here? When you consider everything that has to be in place for the conception of a new human being. As soon as the sperm connects with the egg, within a couple of days, we've got 2 cells. And the DNA of a new human being is perfectly intact. And that DNA never has been and never will be again. Isn't that incredible? There's much discussion about when life begins. When does life begin? Life begins within a few days of the sex act. In fact, it's happening when the lady often doesn't even know she's pregnant. I gave birth to 6 babies. Sometimes I didn't know until I started to feel a little bit sick about 2 months later. And by then, the baby's already developing all of its organs. It's quite an incredible process. So what happens if the woman conceives? Then her progesterone levels soar, sometimes 200%. No wonder we say when a woman's pregnant, she's just blossoming. Her happy hormone levels are high. Now we have one progesterone, that's mother, but there are actually 3 daughters. There's estrone, and estrone is called E1. And there's estradiol, and estradiol is called, or given the nickname, E2. And estriol is given the nickname E3. So there are actually 3 daughters, 3 estrogens. Estrone and estradiol both have strong cell proliferator action, whereas estriol is the delicate estrogen. And it's estriol levels that rise in pregnancy. But if a woman does not conceive, Then by day 26, estrogen levels drop, and by day 26, progesterone levels drop. And when both these levels drop, the blood supply to the uterus is cut, and when the blood supply to the uterus is cut, then the bloodness comes away, and we are once again at day 1 of the monthly cycle. That's what the monthly cycle should look like. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that in many women today. And that's what we want to look at. Why? Why does the imbalance happen? Because as you can imagine, when we've got a drop in mother hormone, we've got a drop in happy hormone, there's premenstrual tension and there's anxiety, there's depression. Can you see the ramifications of this imbalance? And when you've got a rise in estrogen with its cell proliferator action, that's when the growths start to develop in the reproductive areas. It is a fact that a woman cannot get breast cancer if her hormones are balanced. 1 in 4 women, it is estimated in Australia. Can you see the ramifications of this hormonal imbalance? But let me talk for a moment, before we look at the reasons why the imbalance happens, let me talk for a moment on sperm. Sperm is an alien to woman's body. So when sperm enters woman's body, her immune system rises to attack. But God, in his wisdom and mercy, he made it so that when sperm goes through the prostate gland of a man, it takes on an immune suppressant property. So when woman's immune system rises to attack, the immune suppressant property of sperm knocks back her immune system and sperm survives. But woman's body has memory. And every time her husband enters her, her immune system rises and it sees familiarity and it says, oh, it's okay, it's husband, just stand back. And sperm survives. But can you imagine how dangerous it can be in the area of a woman having multiple partners? And can you imagine how dangerous it can be on the immune system in the area of anal sex, an area that God never designed? So let's have a look at why. Let's have a look at why the hormones are out of balance. Number 1, 1957, the first contraceptive pill was given to women. 1960s, called the sexual revolution, women wanted to be able to have sex without having babies. But men and women are and will continue to pay a very high price for this so-called sexual freedom. Why? What is the pill? The pharmaceutical companies grow acres and acres of Mexican wild yam. And Mexican wild yam contains a plant chemical called diosgenin. And in a laboratory, this plant chemical, diosgenin, can be converted to progesterone. It's called progesterone because it has an identical molecular structure to the progesterone that our body makes. But the pharmaceutical company can't patent that. They can only patent something new. So they add a few more atoms in one area and come up with a synthetic estrogen. They add a few more atoms in another area and come up with a synthetic progesterone. Now, up until the late 80s, the contraceptive pill only had estrogen, but it was causing so many problems because it caused this rise in estrogen, causing massive cell growth. There's the endometriosis, the fibroids, the polycystic ovarian syndrome, the cysts, the lumps in the breast cancers. So they were confronted, they had to do something. And so from about the early 90s, synthetic progesterone is now in the contraceptive pill. Has that fixed it? Not at all. Not at all. Because what this synthetic progesterone does is it competes with our progesterone on the receptor side on the cell. So I want to show you what's happening by a simple illustration of this red and purple pen. So our balance should be number 1 hormone progesterone, number 2 estrogen. Month after month on the pill, And what does the pill do, by the way? It tricks the body into thinking it's pregnant. And that's why the woman doesn't fall pregnant. But because it thinks it's pregnant, the body doesn't release the egg. And so if there's no egg release, there's no corpus luteum. So what's happening? Month after month on the pill with its synthetic estrogen, where's estrogen going? Month after month on the pill, no corpus luteum, no progesterone, where's progesterone going? We now have a problem, a serious problem. It's called estrogen dominance. I call estrogen good slave, bad master. It's like water and fire. We can't live without water, but when the floods come, some people die. Oh, how I love my fire in my little house in the middle of winter, but there are fires that have burnt down whole towns. Fire and water are good slaves, bad masters. Same with estrogen. It's a good slave, we need it, but it's not a good master. Because when it gets out of control, it does what the floods and those big fires do. It causes problems. And because it's a cell proliferator, when that estrogen is high, there's the fibroids in the uterus, there's the cysts on the ovaries, there's the polyps in the vagina, there's the cervical problems, there's the lumps on the breast. But by the way, what's happening to mother hormone, progesterone? She's down here now. Now we've lost happy hormone. There's the anxiety, that's the premenstrual tension. I said to one lady, do you get premenstrual tension? She said, no, I just hate my husband for a week every month. She's got it. She's got it. It's right there. And she hates herself. She didn't realise she's got a hormonal imbalance. Elaine Hollingsworth, she's passed now. She's an Australian author. She wrote a book called How to Eliminate the Sickness Industry. And she called the contraceptive pill the mass murder of millions of women. It's not just women that are being affected, it's also men. Because when the estrogen levels go high, it disrupts testosterone levels. And when they go too high, they convert to a form of testosterone called dihydroxytestosterone, which causes inflammation of the prostate. So the woman was on the pill for 5 years, maybe 7 years before she had her babies. And then she's had her babies, now she's going through menopause. How's she faring? Hot flushes. The husband knows because all the blankets get thrown off in the middle of the night and they get pulled on again. One lady said to me, I'm the CEO of a big company, I'm in the middle of a meeting and all of a sudden I get hot flushes. The perspiration's dripping off me, my concentration goes. She said it's so embarrassing. So she went to the doctor and he put her on hormone replacement therapy. What's hormone replacement therapy? More synthetic hormones. Now the body thinks it's pregnant again. So it stops putting the energies into the skin because high estrogen is a capillary dilator causing all the blood to the rush to the skin. That's the hot flushes. So that stops and the body starts to concentrate on the internal organs, the reproductive organs. 6 years later, she's got a lump in her breast. She's diagnosed with breast cancer. The doctor takes her off HRT immediately. Why? He knows. And you say, well, why do you do it if you know that the woman could get breast cancer? He said, well, she was suffering and it brought her relief. That's true. And not every woman will get breast cancer. Well, that's true too. But I'm not interested in playing Russian roulette. And if you say to the woman, you got a choice, hot flushes or breast cancer, what will be her answer? Bring on the flushes. I'll get a black lace fan. In New Zealand, you just have to walk outside. Is that right? Yeah. Cool right down. I guess it's got more force now when I say put not your trust in princes, yeah? Now, I believe that most doctors are ethical, but the pharmaceutical company is not. That's why we must question everything. But there are some women that have never been on the pill, never been on HRT. There's more. What causes a chicken to be fully developed in 5 weeks? Growth stimulants. It's against the law in Australia for cattle farmers to give their cattle growth stimulants, but we had a cattle farmer's wife do our program. She said the pharmaceutical company knock on our door every month pushing the growth stimulants. She said we don't, but we know many that do, and they are told when to stop the growth stimulant so it's not picked up in the blood test at the abattoirs. So if it's in the meat, it's in the product. We had a guy do our program, and he said, when he heard this lecture, he said, I've got 2 friends, one's 6'4", one's 6'6", 2 young guys in their 20s, and they've got a 5'2" mother and a 5'10" father. Where did this 6'4" come from? Well, their father owns a chook farm. So if your father owns a chook farm, what are you eating morning, noon and night? Chicken, eggs. If it's in the chicken, it's in the egg. Absolutely organic chicken doesn't have it. Yes, organic free-range eggs. I'll leave it up to you, but myself, I actually choose to eat plants. But there are some people who are vegetarians, never been on the pill. There's more. Number 3 is plastics. Now, it's not the odd day you drink out of a plastic bottle or the odd day you don't. It's what you do every day. I'm drinking out of a plastic bottle today. But most of the time, where I have been since I came here, I've got my trusty stainless steel bottle that I fill up in water, in filtered water. When I was a little girl, I had cotton underwear, cotton dresses, except if it was cold. I had wool. I'm sure your heritage here in New Zealand is a lot of wool. And actually I've got a lot of, I think everything's wool today. But this is what's called like an undershirt. It's 100% wool. It's not prickly because on the neck of the sheep it's very soft. So the ones that touch your skin are more made out of the neck wool. And this is a fairly prickly wool skirt, but it's not touching me, but it's keeping me warm. So a lot of people put off wool because it prickles, but what's that product? The Icebreaker. New Zealand brand, yeah? I hope you're buying a lot of it because it's important to support local industry. Is that right? And wear your wool. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because there are 3 fabrics that were created in a chemical laboratory. And you'll remember them if you remember nap. It's hard to nap, hard to sleep, as you'll see in my next lecture, if you're covered or surrounded by these chemical fabrics: nylon, acrylic, polyester. Do you know they're having big problems in landfill now? It doesn't break down. If they were created in a chemical laboratory, I don't want them anywhere near me. Because what's happening is chemicals are coming in and they are disrupting the hormones. In Heathrow Airport in 2021, they lost my bags for 5 weeks. Had to go and buy some clothes. I didn't buy many because I knew I'd get my bags, and I eventually did. But I went in to buy some underwear. You try and find a cotton bra. About 5% were cotton. Now, if every woman in this room would only buy natural fibre, what's going to happen? That's going to change what's in the shops because it's just demand and supply, isn't it? Well, there's a great brand, it's an Australian brand, it's called Booty, and they sell a lot of bras, underwear, sports clothes, leggings, and it's all made out of bamboo. Yes, chemicals are used to soften the bamboo. It's about 95% bamboo, 5% elastine. All you have to do is wash it and put it in the sun for the day and it'll detoxify. Same with cotton. You buy cotton, you've got to wash it and put it in the sun for the day because it's the most sprayed crop in Australia. But it's still considered natural fibre. So viscose is bamboo, rayon is wood pulp, modal. But keep away from the nap, the nylon, acrylic and polyester. And this is also affecting the hormones of children. Look at how many children's clothes are made out of nylon, acrylic and polyester. It's not the one day you might wear it, but it's day after day after day after day. Because our skin is an organ of, yes, elimination, but it's also an organ that absorbs, especially when you're exercising and you're getting hot and your pores open. So I think it's impossible to eliminate plastic, but you do the best you can. But especially be mindful of what's going into your body. Get the chemicals out of your bathroom, out of your laundry. You know what's in my laundry cupboard? White vinegar, sodium bicarbonate. Got that? Real easy. No toxicity there. And cheap. And if I want it to smell nice, I've got some eucalyptus oil or lavender essential oil. Herbicides, insecticides, pesticides, one of the worst is glyphosate or Roundup. These are all areas that little by little, like the dripping tap on a stone, are disrupting the hormones. So the million-dollar question is, how do we turn this around? Now, these chemical estrogens are called xenoestrogens, and they each have strong cell proliferator action, like the estrone and the estriol. So number one, if you don't turn the tap off, you're still going to be mopping up in the other corner. Eliminate. One lady said to me, Barbara, I've just looked at all my clothes in my cupboard and I'm going to have to throw everything out. I said, I've got some good news. Icebreaker. But they're expensive. You'll get some on special. There's second-hand shops. You can get some great things in second-hand shops. Eliminate the pill, eliminate HRT. How do we stop having babies popping up everywhere? Contraception should be two-part, as sex is two-part. The man has a role and the woman has a role. The woman's role is to know when she's ovulating. If she takes her temperature every morning, she will find that it changes. So it'll go like this, and then just as she starts to ovulate around day 13 or 14, it'll drop and go up onto a higher plane. So temperature is one sign. The second sign is that her vaginal lubricant will change. Usually when estrogen's high, it's white and thick, but when progesterone levels rise, it's clear and stringy and more profuse. So that's her second sign. Her third sign is the cervix changes. Remember, it comes up a little tighter. It's a matter of a woman checking her cervix every day. At first she's got nothing to compare it to, but as the weeks and the months go by, she starts to see that these three signs will come together, usually on this third week. But those signs allow her to define it. So she says to her husband, I'm safe here, I'm not safe, I'm safe. And when she is not safe, then her husband either masters the art of withdrawal or he uses a condom. My daughter Jessica and her husband Matthew were married for nearly 4 years before baby Amethyst appeared. How nice for a couple to have a few years together before the little darlings appear. So eliminate the pill, eliminate HRT. The list I put here will allow a woman to stop the HRT. Meat and its products, if you want to eat meat and its products, must be organic. If you do choose to eat plants, they must be chemical-free and insecticide-free. And reduce the plastics as much as possible. Reduce your chemical exposure. You have no say over your neighbours, but you have total say over what is in your house. So eliminate. Number 2, the liver. And at 1 o'clock today, my first lecture is going to be on the gut, and my second lecture will be on the liver. And I will show you how the liver is able to detoxify us. And the liver can detoxify us from excess estrogen. And how it does it is through certain pathways. And vitamin B6, B9 and B12 are the 3 B vitamins that allow the liver to release excess estrogen. So the first one's turning the tap off. The second one is getting those estrogen levels down. Licorice, if you've got high blood pressure, forget licorice. Also flaxseed, ground flaxseed is a great additive to every breakfast, not only because of its omega-3, but because it contains lignans, and these lignans help the liver to release excess estrogen. And the cabbage family. We're going into winter. Hopefully you've already got your cabbages in. So not just cabbage, but Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, kale, contain indoles. And these plant chemicals stimulate the liver to release that excess estrogen. Number 3, every country I go to, I am finding they have a yam cream. And the yam cream is made out of the Mexican wild yam, and it contains the plant chemical diosgenin. And when that yam cream is applied to the skin, the fat cells take up the diosgenin, and they work through this biochemical pathway that your body uses to make the hormones and causes a boost in progesterone. It basically causes mother hormone, progesterone, to be reinstated, and whether it's man or woman, it will balance those hormones. Psalm 104 verse 14, the Bible says that God gave herbs for the service of man. And so the diosgenin that is in the wild yam, the cells take it up and it causes a balance of the hormones. If the hormones have been out of balance for 20 years, it might take 1 or 2 years, but we're finding results happening within a couple of months often. When estrogen levels are high, it opposes thyroid function. So everyone with thyroid problems should be on the yam cream. Anyone that's got depression or anxiety, go on the yam cream. It'll boost progesterone, which will boost happy hormone. So you can see that there are so many symptoms that can happen because of the hormonal imbalance. My aim was to give you Proverbs 14 verse 6, knowledge is easy to him that understands. I wanted you to understand how the hormones work so that you now have the knowledge on how to restore that balance. Whether you're 9 or 90, when you go through menopause, your hormones do drop, but they're still there. And if, unfortunately, your uterus and ovaries have been removed, well, your adrenal glands will kick in to make the hormones. And so many women have had their uteruses out, but the cause of the problem in the uterus was never addressed. They've still got that problem, which is high estrogen. We've got to stop chopping body parts out. Now, if a woman has a fibroid so big, it's blocking her colon, I think she'll have to have that fibroid out. Because if your colon doesn't move, you're not going to live long. But ideally, the hormones are balanced before the fibroids get that big. If a woman does have fibroids or polycystic ovarian syndrome or endometriosis or cysts on the ovaries, absolutely the yam cream is necessary no matter her age, to get mother hormone up and bring that estrogen down, because it's the high estrogen that is causing those growths. It's the imbalance. And what the lady can do is she can wear castor oil compresses. Castor oil penetrates deep and can break up the fibroids, not overnight, but little by little over several weeks and months, that will happen. How long does a woman stay on it for? Usually at least a year. She applies it twice a day. Inside of arms one time, inside of thighs another time, abdomen another time, chest another time, and she applies it for the 3 weeks of the month where the progesterone is highest and estrogen is lower. What if a woman is not menstruating anymore? She just chooses 1 week of the month where she doesn't apply it. You see, women are cyclic, and even if a woman is no longer menstruating, she's post-menopause, she still needs to keep that cycle. Men are not cyclic. Cheryl Selman gave this illustration. She said, women are like the moon. Sometimes they're full, sometimes they're half, sometimes they're a slither. Men are like the sun. They rise every morning, conquer the day, and go down again. So if a man applies the cream, he just applies it twice a day, every day. He doesn't have a break. Why would a man apply it? He'd apply it for prostate problems. He'd apply it for penile dysfunction. One man said to me, forgive the French, but this cream just puts lead in my pencil. He said, I'm not like I was when I was 20, but I'm better than I was. Great for weight loss. Really hard for a man or a woman to lose weight if estrogen's high, because it's got this one set mind, which is cell proliferation. Osteoporosis. Progesterone boosts bone-building cells. How many women who are on the pill in their teens now have osteoporosis in their 50s, 60s? And how many are told that it's actually a lot to do with the hormones? The ramifications of this are huge. The final one is the 8 basic laws of health, which we will cover in more detail in the next lecture. But simply, it's pure air, sunshine, not taking anything that harms, going to bed early, exercising every day, a nourishing diet, plenty of water, trusting in God, thanking Him every day for this incredible body, takes into consideration all the mental or emotional aspects of disease. You can get my lecture on hormones online. And if you have someone who's got a major hormonal imbalance, don't just give them the cream and say, use this. What you do is tell them to watch the lecture, because we need an understanding of what's happening to us.